Hello and welcome to Lap of the World. I'm Richard, and no, the title is not clickbait. It may be a little overdramatic, bordering on terribilizing, but it's real. This isn't easy to admit as someone who tries to be a fastidious steward of their vehicles, but I feel like I've gone a modification too far with the NSX for how I'll be using it going forward. How is that, you ask? Well, stick around and I'll explain exactly how I've messed it up and what I'm trying to do to fix it. First, a little background. When I first bought my NSX, it was always going to take a little bit of work to get it back working at or near its design capabilities. And since it wasn't perfect to begin with, I was pretty comfortable at the time making changes where necessary and where technology had advanced in order to get the car running back like it was supposed to. Inevitably then, after years of fixing and restoring, I finally got around to doing a few optional modifications. Some were cosmetic, others were actually done with the intent of building the car out to the limit of the rules for NASA's, at the time, TTB time trial class. One thing led to another, and at some point in the search for speed and glory, I ruined the car. Don't get me wrong, the changes worked. The car went faster, I podiumed several events, won one of them, and set several very respectable personal best times. However, off the track, I started to notice I was having more reservations about when and how I used the car, given the excitement that I had added in search of those winning seconds or fractions thereof. That hesitation to use the car casually has come into more of an acute focus with some life changes, as well as a decision to take Lap of the World more seriously as a project. My goals have shifted such that I have no real intent to contest a time trial season seriously. I now have a co-driver who I enjoy talking to on road trips so much that I married her, and given the scope of Lap of the World as a project, the majority of my driving time is invariably going to be spent on long highway runs to and from distant racetracks, such as driving 40 hours both directions to California for NSX Expo this year. With that in mind, the biggest issue, and I apologize for sounding like your crotchety neighbor, but I made the car too damn loud. Now, I suspect there are going to be a few people who are going to question my judgment or start asking for my man card to be revoked, but I've already started the process of turning the volume from 11 down to something distinctly sub-Spinal Tap. The problem with the decibel level that I achieved is that, in addition to annoying the get off my lawn contingent, it also made the car intolerable on long highway runs. It could attract the wrong kind of attention from law enforcement, and more pertinent to our immediate concerns, it could fall foul of certain racetracks with more stringent sound policies. Indeed, what you've been hearing since the channel reboot is already quieter than the setup that was on the car for that dyno run, with a set of Science of Speed high-flow cats replacing the test pipes I had on the car at the time. Now, my plan from here is to continue to dial down both the exterior exhaust volume as well as the interior NVH levels, with hopefully just a couple of changes. For the exhaust, I have a new ARC DTS tailpipe to replace the old ARC DTS tailpipe. I've really enjoyed how that exhaust has sounded on the car. However, the one that's on the car currently, I can almost guarantee you has very little, if any, packing left in it. Full credit to ARC though, I bought that one secondhand and have now abused it on the track for 7+ years, and packing aside, it is otherwise still completely functionally intact. The NVH portion of the problem, or noise, vibration, and harshness in the industry, is a little bit trickier to deal with. Obviously, toning down the exhaust note will help a little bit with that, but there are some other factors in play here in my case, namely bushing material. When I bought this car, the front suspension was a mess. The compliance pivots were frozen, and the left front camber adjustment bolt was seized in its bushing. Unfortunately, there's no non-destructive way to fix that, so at the time, being a 20-something with limited funds, I opted to take it to a friend of mine who has access to a machine shop and experience building race cars. I had him press in some Delrin bushings, replacing the OEM rubber. Did that fix my problem? Yes. Was it the most cost-effective solution at the time? Absolutely. Did it make the car more responsive? Maybe. Did it also creak like the door to your sketchy uncle's basement? Oh yeah. Compounding things, I took the same approach when I had an engine mount tear. Out came the rubber, in went some Delrin. That also fixed the problem. It kept the engine from moving under torque load, and having the mounts modified, again, cost significantly less than new mounts did at the time. However, they also translated a lot more drivetrain vibration into the cabin. Now, on the track, with a helmet on and hyper-focused, it was not an issue. I didn't notice anything at all, vibrations, noise, whatever, it's fine. On the street though, it really robbed my NSX of its ability to settle down for a long highway run or relax for an evening cruise. It became all Mr. Hyde with no Dr. Jekyll to temper things. And that's a shame because the NSX is so good at striking that balance between exciting and easy that I might even go so far as to say that its ability to strike that balance is one of the major reasons it's so good as a car in general. So here again, I'm going to have to go backwards a bit to get where I want to be. Now I've already replaced the suspension brackets with new ones that have OEM rubber bushings, so no more horror film door creaking when I go over speed bumps. However, I still need to take care of the engine mounts. My hope is that swapping engine mounts in the tailpipe will make an immediate and noticeable difference. Now, normally, if I were just doing this on my own, I would just make the swap and then kind of play it by ear. But this being the internet, I want to measure my results. I'm going to do that by first taking a baseline measurement of the interior ambient volume at highway speeds. Then after I swap the parts, we'll go back and take a second measurement to see what difference, if any, we've made. So to facilitate taking a baseline reading, I've brought my lovely assistant Liz with me out for a drive, and we are going to head to a stretch of road to which we can easily return once I've made the changes to the car, and we'll use a very sensitive scientific equipment, in other words a decibel meter app we downloaded to our phone, to try and get a baseline reading for the cabin noise at 70 miles an hour. So we're just going to find a stretch of road. I'm going to keep it consistently at 70, which is the speed limit here, I might add. And then we will rinse and repeat once I've made a couple of changes. They aren't sponsoring me, but ARC did give me a small discount on this tailpipe on account of some blemish they mentioned, but that I wasn't able to find. I almost feel bad bolting this under the car and firing hot gas through it, but here goes. Okay, you ready for this?
What'd you say? I can't hear you.
But seriously, it's so much quieter, right?
No, it's totally. We could actually, like, carry on a conversation. We could listen to music.
What? Get out. Alright, so having lost a pair of sunglasses and replaced the exhaust and the engine mount, we have now returned to the same stretch of road that we tested on before and are approaching our test zone, so we're actually testing on the same stretch of pavement. Granted, that's about as scientific as we get. I have not validated the temperature or barometric pressure or anything like that today. So without further ado, let's see if our car still sounds like a food blender from a volume standpoint, or if it's gotten a little bit better. So there's some objective success for you. We measured a roughly 2 decibel decrease in the interior volume before and after changing the tailpipe and reverting the engine mount back to rubber. Now, the way the decibel scale works, that technically means we've more than halved the interior volume with just those 2 changes. Now, subjectively, it is a very notable difference inside the car. Since we filmed that after recording sequence, or between then and now, I actually drove the car on about a 700-mile loop through North and South Carolina, into Georgia, and then finally back to Tennessee over a weekend. And during that drive, I was able to just casually listen to music. I could hear my phone's navigation prompts without turning the volume way up. And most importantly, I think when I got to where I was going, I didn't feel the need to go and like sit in a quiet room for half an hour just to descramble my brain. It was all in all a very enjoyable experience comparatively. Now at the same time, the car can definitely still sound rowdy when I want it to. It's nice to have that option, but it's nice for it to be an option at this point. And on that small victory, I think we'll call it there. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video, if not at the track.